Good evening, everybody. This is your favorite aspiring class here, a wandering author, reminding you that we're all the authors of our own lives. As always, my message remains the same. Spend less, live more, earn your freedom with frugality. And today, we're going to talk a little bit about pain and the supreme good. This is chapter 13, book 7 of Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics. If you want to catch yourself up to this point so far, I've got the entire series, every single chapter recorded up to this point, but let's go ahead and get started. Chapter 13 begins, that pain, moreover, is an evil, and to be avoided is admitted, since all pain is either absolutely evil, or evil as being some way an impediment to activity. But that which is the opposite of something to be avoided, opposed to it as a thing to be avoided and evil, must be good. So, he's building up to pleasure. It follows, therefore, that pleasure is a good. Sisyphus attempted to refute this argument by saying that as the greater is opposed to the equal as well as to the less, so pleasure is opposed to a neutral state of feeling as well as to pain. But this refutation does not hold good, for Sisyphus would not maintain that pleasure is essentially evil. But granting, too, that some pleasures are bad, it does not therefore follow that a certain pleasure may not nevertheless be the supreme good. But granting, too, that some pleasures are bad, it does not therefore follow that that a certain pleasure may not nevertheless be the supreme good. Just as a certain form of knowledge may be supremely good, although some forms of knowledge are bad. On the contrary, since every faculty has its unimpeded activity, the activity of all the faculties, or of one of them when unimpeded, must be probably the most desirable thing there is. But an unimpeded activity is a pleasure, so that on this showing the supreme good will be a particular kind of pleasure, even though most pleasures are bad, and it may be bad absolutely. This is why everybody thinks that the happy life must be a pleasant life, and regards pleasure as a necessary ingredient of happiness. This is why everybody thinks that the happy life must be a pleasant life and regards pleasure as a necessary ingredient of happiness. That right there is one of the big points from this chapter. And with good reason, since no impeded activity is perfect, whereas happiness is essentially perfect. So that the happy man requires, in addition, the goods of the body, external goods, and the gifts of fortune, in order that his activity may not be impeded through lack of them. Consequently, those who say that if a man be good, he will be happy, even when on the rack, or when fallen into the direst misfortune, are intentionally or unintentionally talking nonsense. But because happiness requires the gifts of fortune in addition, some people think that it is the same thing as good fortune. But this is not so, since even good fortune itself, when excessive, is an impediment to activity, and perhaps indeed no longer deserves to be called fortune, since good fortune can only be defined in relation to happiness. Moreover, that all animals and all human beings pursue pleasure is some indication that it is in a sense the supreme good. No rumor noised abroad by many peoples comes utterly to naught. But they do not all pursue the same pleasure, since the natural state and the best state neither is nor seems to be the same for them all. Yet still they all pursue pleasure. Indeed, it is possible that in reality they do not pursue pleasure, the pleasure which they think, and would say they do, but all the same pleasure. For nature has implanted in all things something divine. But as the pleasures of the body are the ones which are most often met with, and as all men are capable of these have usurped the family title. And so men think these are the only pleasures that exist, because they are the only ones which they know. I think that right there is actually a pretty deep statement. And so men think these are the only pleasures that exist because they are the only ones that they know in regards to the body of pleasures. And then, moreover, it is clear that if pleasure is not good and activity is not pleasure, the life of the happy man will not necessarily be pleasant. The life of the happy man will not necessarily be pleasant. For why should he need pleasure if it is not good? On the contrary, his life may even be painful. For if pleasure is neither good nor evil, no more than pain is, so why should he avoid it? And if the good man's activities are not pleasanter than those of others, his life will not be pleasanter either. And that's the end of that chapter. And then we get to finish with chapter 14. We might do that one Yeah, we'll go ahead and do that one tonight. What are y'all doing in order to inspire, uplift, and empower your local community today? Because this world isn't changing unless we all do our part, and you can count on me to do mine daily. Till next time, I love y'all.